Welcome to another broadcast of the Competitive Edge. Today, we are going to be looking at everything branding and marketing, social media, and management. Now, I want to say morning, good day, good evening, wherever you're viewing this program from. We are currently broadcasting across multiple social media and platforms, and we are on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and multiple platforms. So I do want to, as usual, if you have a friend, someone that you know who's in business, do call them and let them know that the competitive edge is on air. Remember also to like us and subscribe to us across social media platform, so you will be the first to know when we are on air. We have three dynamic persons in the studio. We have one that is very new. We have Andrew, and Andrew is a social media specialist. And I want to say happy birthday to Andrew.
Thank you.
He has a
Thank you.
birthday coming up tomorrow. So let me do this. I want to get today's program started by having you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to come to the other famous people. They don't need any introduction because they're Peter and Paul. They're the most famous people, right? So I'm going to focus on you today. Andrew, you're young and 20, going to be 21 tomorrow, but your grasp of social media management is exceptional. I've listened to you how you articulate yourself, Remington. I'm like, wow, wow, you've got something going on for yourself. But tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to just be. I'm going to go around the room. Give us about a short introduction of who Andrew is, and
Yeah,
so the
sure.
people get an idea of who you are.
Sure. So I'm a college student as well. I attend St. John's University down in Queens, and we own a marketing firm. We have two firms actually. One of the brands are focused on building traction for people that are involved in the real estate, mortgage, and insurance industries. And then I'm also a partner of another global brand, which actually is involved in multiple industries. As an organization, we've been in marketing for the last 14 years. And, one of the biggest things that we've found is business owners don't entirely understand what this is. And, you know, nobody likes getting pitched. And we figured that marketing classes work very well. And teaching owners and teaching businesses. My partner has taught over 22,000 individuals in marketing. I've taught hundreds of all different places in the country. And education on marketing, I feel like is something that everyone should know about because marketing and sales, they're very much connected to each other. And even though we're talking about marketing today, I will be also covering a little bit of importance on sales. And I think the concept of sales is not just business. I mean, you got to sell yourself to people. Like if you want to go get a job, you got to sell yourself. If you want to get a wife, you got to sell yourself. You have to sell yourself everywhere. And I think that concept is like every time I talk about it, I just keep understanding the importance of it even more, and people start to understand the importance of it even more. So we create an environment where people understand that, you know, we got to think long term because I am not a short term person at all. I also play volleyball at a pretty high level. And, for me to increase my vertical jump by 4 inches next year is not possible. It's very hard. It's a very long term. Maybe I'll get an inch next year, right? An inch higher. And for me to think that I want to jump 4 inches next year, not possible. So I immediately got everything into long term thinking, and I'm glad I am like that. I know most kids my age are that instant gratification, but I guess I'm glad I'm a little bit different there, and I'm able to understand that what long term is the winning mentality that everyone should think about. Short term, it's like I say short term is sexy, but long term is like the best. Long term is the winning ingredient. So I preach a lot of mentality things when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, and even though being a full time college student, I think time management is very very important because the only three things I'm doing is either I'm playing, I'm working, or I'm studying. Those are the only three things, and of course, socializing and networking is very important as well. So I'm quite proud of myself for keeping a balance. And as we get more into school, because I'm going to be like a sophomore next year, what's going to be important for me is to see how I can even balance it even bigger because we keep getting projects coming up and workload increases, but how can I keep making systems? So it teaches me a lot from the back end, like how as a leader can I make my systems even better. Now with automation nowadays, you can leverage that a lot to make your time a little bit more lighter. So, we're exploring a lot of things, but yeah, college student, founder, two businesses, and it's just learning at this point. Like no fear, just going in all out. And if I mess up, I mess up, but that's fine because when I do this again, when I'm 25, 26, I have nothing to worry about. I mean, I kind of know the game at that point. So, yeah, that's my excitement.
All right, thanks for that share, Andrew. So there you had it, Andrew Mancherel. And of course, at 20 years old, he can articulate himself pretty good in terms of social media management and marketing. And me and the guys were laughing earlier by saying that he is, we have an adult trapped in a child's body. When you hear him speak, you definitely hear a more mature voice that is speaking there. All right. With that, I want to come to Paul. And Paul is our one of our financial experts. But Paul, there might be person out there who may be looking at this program for the first time. And do say take some time and introduce yourself to the public. Have a better understanding as to who you are.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Andrew, it's nice to have you on the show. Cannot wait to hear what you got to say.
Yes, yes, excited.
Well, my name is Paul. I'm from Patriot Business Finance Consultants and patriotbfc.com. That's our website. Paul at patriotbfc.com if you want to get a hold of me. And we can provide anything that you need for financing for your business, small to large. The smallest business to large manufacturing, tens of millions of dollars, everything in between. It's equipment financing, capital raising, real estate financing, factoring, and purchase order financing. Any state, any industry, any credit, any equipment. I don't mean to sound like a commercial, you guys, but that kind of covers it all. Any state, any industry, any credit, any equipment, we can help you. You're approved. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for that share, Paul and Peter. Can you give us a short introduction of
Yes.
Peter?
Morning, listeners, viewers. We're so appreciative of the all the views that we have, the time that you take to spend with us. We want to let you know that we appreciate it very much. So, my name is Peter Guscott Sr., and I manage what we call the Legacy Chronicles publishing program, in which we assist individuals who have a story. And we believe every individual has a story to tell. And, you were sent on this planet to impact the community. You were sent to solve a problem. So our focus is to assist individuals to identify the problem that they were designed to solve. And we empower individuals to identify that problem. Then we take that problem or the solution for that problem and we package it into a book. We design it into a course and then we distribute it through seminars, conferences, digital media. And so, being here, what we want individuals to understand that you are in the right place. I would ask you if you are, or if you know a pastor, a ministry leader, a career professional, or somebody who's just interesting to become an entrepreneur, you are in the right place.
All right. Thanks for that share, Peter. And a short intro of myself. Well, like a Toastmaster, I wear many hats. And one of the hats that I wear, I represent Pitch Deck 101 LLC out of New York, and 10X Branding and Marketing, and Global Capital Inc. But there's a very unique project that I want to introduce the general public to, and that project is called the Bestseller Portal. Now, the Bestseller Portal is a very unique platform, and the vision behind this platform, we are currently on the ground, and we are working to attract between 5 to 10 million persons to this platform over the next 5 years. Why? Because with achieving that objective, we know that we can take the average person to the bestseller list within days or within a few hours, and that can be done. So there's a lot of work that is being done with this portal at the moment. So I want to just help you to understand the portal because there's a lot of benefits that you can take away and when you become part of this portal. But before I tell you about membership, I want to help you to understand the portal. Now, to understand the portal, if you see I'm clicking on buttons, you can press on products. Now, when you press on products, you will see on your left hand side a number of menus in the drop down. You have ebooks, you have tickets, you have promotion, you have business, you have law, you have health, you have a range of different categories of literary contents to go to. But I want you to press on ebooks. And when you press on ebooks, I want to introduce you to some of the books that we are currently offering. Um, this is one of the books that we have written. You have 8 volumes of the book right now. You have Master the Sales Communication Process. Now, a lot of what we're going to be discussing today, a lot of the information could be found in these books. You have books that cover things like media management and social media management, how to start and scale the business, understanding communication channels. So there's a range of things. If you want to be good in marketing and sales, and get some of these books will definitely help you. And I love Andrew would have made a point. If you know, everything you're doing is sales. I mean, whether you know it or not, it is sales. You're either good at it or you're bad at it. So why not give your chance an opportunity to be exceptional
Mhm.
in mastering the sales communication process? So we have Janju, who is an expert, and he will be talking to you about that. But get the books, and the books will definitely help you in building a strong brand and mastering that sales communication process. Now, you can take the time, look at the books, and then I want you to press on membership. Why? Because I want you to become a member of the bestseller portal. It's free. And all you need to do is to give us your name, email address, phone number, tell us the area of your interest, and make any other comment that you want to. There's tremendous advantage in becoming a member of the portal, the bestseller portal. Why? Because as a member, you will get free books. All right. And these are ebooks. You can listen to the books on the go. You could be relaxing and you can put on your earphone and you can listen to the book. You could have on your computer and you could listen to the books. But along with that, we are going to be hosting a number of business summits. One of those summits that we're going to be hosting is the High Net Worth Investors Guide. And the High Net Worth Investors Guide really helps you to understand what is the law of preparation. How do you prepare yourself for success? And you don't want to stay in the preparation zone. You want to now move to the applications zone. But what does application looks like? The law of application will help you to understand that. And then we talk about the mastering the law of wealth management. Once you acquire wealth, you want to know how to manage it. Many persons acquire it and then they lose it. And that's the last thing that you want to do. That's the last thing we want to have happen to you. So we have built out these programs to really show you how to, keep your earns. And last but not least is how to expand. Because if you have wealth and there's no expansion, believe me, it's depreciating. All right, your asset is reducing significantly for many reasons. So you must understand how to grow and expand that wealth. So this is a very unique program that really help business leaders and rising stars who wants to achieve more to understand how to apply this ecosystem to their life. The cost of this program is 50,000 US dollars. But guess what? As a member, we will train you for free. You could be, many persons can be fully sponsored, but you can't get those sponsorship unless you are a member. So I do encourage you to uh, become a member. It's free, so you can be part of what we do. Again, you have another benefit. You will get free books, and also you will get free training. The cost of this training program it runs for about 9 months to a year. It's this program is also will cost you about about 50,000 US dollars. But as a member, we can sponsor a number of you persons to go through this program. so you really understand the ecosystem of sales and marketing and branding and how to move your business to another level. So that's as much as I'm going to share with you today. So again, become a member. You have absolutely nothing to lose in becoming a member. All right. So with that being said, you had an introduction to Andrew, and I'm so excited to hear all of Andrew hacks and tricks. Andrew say, sometimes you start a business and you're looking for instant gratification. No, it's not like that. And here you have a young man that is talking to you in that way, right? He knows how the game is played. So he's going to go deeper into that shortly. We'll now take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to kick the thing off, on branding and marketing and social media management. We will be right back.
The High Net Worth Investor's Guide, where art meets science. Explore tools, processes, and systems that empower you to accelerate your journey to a 7-figure business. Access smart funding solutions for 6 and 7-figure enterprises. Harness capital for multiple income streams. Master the art and science of debt mitigation to build wealth faster. Experience comprehensive business support to propel your success at a budget that suits you. The High Net Worth Investor's Guide is tools, processes, and systems that influences success. Portal Summit. Are you a rising star in business academia, public speaking, sports, law, medicine, or an influencer? Becoming a best-selling author can open doors to connect with top figures in various fields. Discover how the Bestseller Portal team can assist you. 1. Assisting clients in the creation, refinement, design, and publication of their books, biographies, and autobiographies. 2. Strategizing and executing promotional campaigns while navigating global markets and linguistic diversity to enhance the visibility of your literary works. 3. Nurturing our clients' transformation into esteemed public speakers and influential thought leaders. 4. Elevating your books into dynamic digital learning. LLC out of New York do more than just support our clients to pitch their businesses to investors access working capital at 0% APR. We also support our clients to grow and scale their businesses faster and cash flow optimize. Pitch Deck 111 LLC recent partnership with 10X Branding Marketing LLC and Global Capital Inc. out of the USA has enabled us to form unique partnership with multiple financial institutions, which means we can do even more to accelerate the success of our clients. Let Pitch Deck 101 LLC give you the support you need to pitch to investors, access capital, access new markets and grow and scale your business. Contact us now on 332-235-1099 for a free consultation.
All right, welcome back to the Competitive Edge. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lay some backdrop to give some context to today's program, and then we're going to open up and do that deep dive. Today, we're looking at the face of marketing and branding, and I begin by asking the question, what is a brand? What is the definition of a brand? Now, I can recall many years ago as we do studies, and we look at brand from 3 different standpoints. A business can have what is known as the premium brand, and we'll discuss that as we go into the program. You have complementary brand and you have supplementary brands. And what I've recognized is that economic and social structure significantly influences brand recognition, all right? And it's important when you're in business to understand how economic realities and social reality plays a role in the type of brand that you're going to be building and targeting at individuals. So this brings me to the point, if you are attempting to build a brand and you don't have data, there's a challenge. For example, we always talk about the importance of data collection, data analytics, data application, and data mitigation. We'll look at some of that as we go into today's program. Now, as you get the data, The data is what informing you. It's what informs you of how to target people based on economic realities and social realities. It is by doing this you're now able to innovate products and services. And as you innovate products and services, you're innovating to go to market with what we call your minimum viable offer, which might be you're going to market with the lowest hanging fruit. It may not be the premium brand, it might be complementary or supplementary, or you're going to the market with your most viable product. And in this case, you definitely want to go and hit, premium demographics. But then from all of this, there comes into the picture advertising and media effectiveness, because all of these are things that we want to look at. Advertising and media effectiveness brings into the picture the concept that we call advertising copywriting and data. Because once you would have do all of that work, identify, what target market you want to reach, you identify, what market you go into, products or services you go into the market with. You now want to advertise how you're going to use advertising and media content to help you achieve that. Again, advertising and copywriting and it should be influenced by data. All right, it should be influenced by data. And I will explain that as we go into today's program. And the other concept that I want to bring here, as we look at branding and marketing and social media management and all of that, we need to ask ourselves the other question, media effectiveness. So as we look at media effectiveness and data, this also brings into mind your understanding of mass media. And when we talk of mass media, we are referring to radio, television, and newspaper. It brings into mind social media. And we have Andrew, who is here with us, who is a social media specialist. It brings into mind the metaverse. These are all developments that are taking place in the world today. If you're doing marketing and branding and you're not necessarily looking at the metaverse, you're leaving a big audience base here out of the window. And that can also help you to significantly cash flow when you understand this. And the last concept that I'm going to look at here is independent communication platforms. This is something that we need to talk about also. Once time permits, these are some of the things that we want to look at. But a couple of things here. Why are we using these media? Why? The central objective or the underlying fact here is that you're using mass media, social media, the metaverse, or independent communication channel. Why? Because you want visibility, you want reach, you want impact, you want client conversion, you want cash flow optimization, you want to build confidence, trust, and credibility. Ultimately, you want to form quality relationships with people. All right. But the big issue come up here, and this is where Paul would come in here also, budgeting. Sometimes you look at all of these things that you want, but the budget and marketing campaign is not properly looked at. And here I'm going to play with the words now that Andrew would have used early on. You want instant gratification without looking at the entire cost factor to move your vision forward. Now, in starting the program off, I want to ask Andrew, what is your definition of social media management?
Yeah. So we call it social media management optimization, and because sometimes the management part makes people think is the account even growing, and our purpose of it, our purpose of the account is to manage it in terms of looking at people responding to comments, looking at the data, and seeing if each of our content over time, not every post by post, but over time is doing better. And in terms of optimization, there's plenty of routes to take it. I mean, which I'm sure I'll be covering this later in depth. We look at content strategy, we look at commenting, we look at boosting, we look at ads, because social media is one element of marketing, and sometimes people think that's all they need, but then they forget the other bigger channels of marketing, right? I tell people that
forget the other parts. You're correct. Yeah,
exactly. I tell people that being out there everywhere is far better than being out there on one platform, because if everyone can see you, no one can forget you, right? But if everyone can see you in this limited space, you're going to only expect X amount of people to actually remember you, right? I'm very big on the idea of branding and how you need to first understand you got to get your mentality right on marketing, have a long-term mindset, especially this is really dependent on industries. Like we do a lot of classes for a lot of brokerages, and that's real estate. It's a big industry. And I tell people that I tell agents that this is not like I wake up tomorrow, I'm like, I'm gonna buy a house and I'm just gonna do it, right? If I was owning like a t-shirt brand, that's a little different. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to Macy's and I'm gonna buy 5 pairs of shirts. Easy choice in my life, done. But for certain industries, it's a big part of someone's life. I mean, buying a house is like a milestone in someone's life, right? And if you expect your consumers to make fast decisions because of that, because they want to buy a house and they're okay with putting hundreds of thousands of dollars out there, we tend to forget how we think naturally. So I think that human element is forgotten in marketing. Everyone thinks marketing is, okay, I'm picking like raffle from like a hat and then we're just getting leads like that. The answer is not at all. That's not even the case. We're marketing to humans that have likes, dislikes. Those dislikes become likes sometimes. Those likes become dislikes. There's a plenty of varying factors as it relates to like the human person. And if you can understand that, you'll have an idea of how to brand yourself after, right? Either you're going to build like a personal brand or a business brand. I advocate a personal brand almost all the time. I believe people should know who they're dealing with. I believe there's only in certain cases where the business could speak for itself. For example, in a case like Starbucks, or in like a car brand like Ferrari or BMW, right? These are brands that we're not seeing the people there, but we're seeing the product. And not only are we seeing the product, we're seeing the feeling behind the product. If you look at like Red Bull, for example, that account, they're barely promoting their product. They're just promoting the feelings and the energy you get using it, right? And people are attracted to that, right? Once we have an idea on how to brand ourselves on a personal level, if I know who I'm dealing with, I'm much more comforted in my head that this is what I can expect. There's a much better expectation. And just like the saying is, humans connect with humans, it's very true. I don't talk to a logo. I talk to a company, which is full of people in it. And if I don't understand who's inside it, if I don't see a team's culture, if I don't see a team's energy or personality as a whole, could create trust issues in the future. It may not make me want to make a move with you right away until I see more things about you, right? This ties into another concept of content marketing, which is a very misstep. And I'm quite very surprised why it's a misstep, because, content marketing is the process of defining your ideal client. And everyone has an ideal client. I mean, nobody talks about it, but everyone has that ideal client. And sometimes you forget to ask yourself, what is that ideal client? And you just post things about your business. You be all salesy, asking for sales, but then you forget to realize that, hold on, I'm not speaking to everyone. I'm speaking to a specific type of person, and I'm getting random leads and bad leads from everywhere. Why is that the case? Well, your content is speaking to everyone out there. You seem like you would want to work with everyone, right? So this whole process of content marketing is a very misstep. And, some questions everyone can ask themselves if you have a business is, what does a typical ideal client look like? What is an age? What is the personality of your ideal client? What might be a typical income that they might be making? What are some of the problems, needs, or dreams or obstacles that they might face in your industry? And how do you address that? How does your company, or how do you as a professional address those kind of problems, right? That's what nobody talks about. People don't talk about how they solve problems for previous people. So how can you even expect to get like the perfect lead if you're not even talking about how you solved a problem for the perfect lead, right? We all have done that, but we haven't shown that, and we have to show it over and over again. I am very anti-salesy. I don't believe in being salesy at all. Like, I mean, when I go to networking events, I assess people. As funny as it sounds, I don't want, like, I always don't want people coming up to me right away and be like, hey, for example, I'm a realtor. If you want to buy or sell a house, contact me. It's not happening. I'm not going to contact you. I need to have a conversation with you, right? And same aspect as it relates to digital marketing. You want to have a conversation with people. You want to introduce people to who you are. You want to give, just like the thing, give and don't expect anything back. Same sort of concept, right? I mean, when we all started our businesses, I'm sure what was the first thing that we've done? Well, we've done something what's called the push strategy. Maybe it could be cold calling, door knocking, reaching out to people. Like, we're putting all efforts to get into people, right? But what do we all wish? Well, I wish at least Monday through Saturday I could sit on my couch and I have leads coming to me, right? I'm not doing anything. Leads are just coming, right? I tell people, like, if you look at Apple, whenever Apple releases a new iPhone, do you ever see Apple cold call anyone telling them? I mean, it sounds so weird when I say that, right? It's like what are you talking about, right? People just go to Apple, they just buy the damn phone because Apple's not asking for sales. They did such a good job with the pull strategy. And I tell people this is the type of mindset that we should be getting into. We are all going to start with push. I mean, when I started my business and still even today, cold calling, a ton of networking, a ton of social media on my end, right? Because I want people to know who I am. But I want to get it to a point where even if I step out, people are still wanting my service. People are still wanting to work with me. So that's my intention. And I tell every business owner that should be yours, but it starts with that determination in the beginning for months and years because people also think when you do marketing, you do it for like 6 months or 12 months. Listen, I don't care who you do it with. You don't do it for that long. You have to continually do it until your career is over because you're trying to create a legacy. If you want to have your brand for another generation and you just want to do it for 12 months, it'll die out in 12 months, right? So these are all common little things that I hear that people have these big expectations and big goals, but then they have these thoughts. So I'm like, you got to be realistic with it, right? You can have limiting thoughts, but have limiting expectations is what I'm going to say. If you can have broad thoughts and a long-term mindset like the one that I'm preaching, you will do
Yeah.
well. It's just a matter of time.
Awesome. My. Andrew, you have said a lot, and I'm thinking that you've been reading my books. You sound as though you're coming exactly from the books that I have written. Let me just back you up on a couple of points that you would have made. All right. I love that you said that it's important to incorporate personal branding into your sales effort, and you're perfectly correct. And I could recall in chapter 1 of the Master the Sales Communication Process, we talk about that. And just let me give a reasons why. You find very often that the company, they place a lot of emphasis on building the corporate image and building the corporate brand, and divorce from ensuring that personal branding is a part of it. And when we talk of personal branding, we're talking about, just think about this. Let us suppose that you have 5 sales representative, 5 sales communication professional. But on one side, no one knows who they are. On the other side, they're like Paul and Peter. They're the most famous people the world has ever known. Who do you think the people are going to gravitate to? They're going to gravitate to Peter and Paul because they have visibility. People know who they are. Immediately, they're coming with the know, like, and trust. And that ties into personal branding. So I'm so happy that you're saying that, Andrew, and you're right on point. The second point that you made that I took away here is content marketing and the ideal client. And you were so much on point because this is what I talk about. Many rising stars in business, sometimes you run away with the idea that everyone is your client. Baloney. Everyone is not your client. And remember when I talked about data early on, collecting data, sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, applying sensitive data, and mitigating the data. The data that you want to collect is your ideal client. What are those characteristics of the client that is helping you to understand that this is my ideal client? And based on their characteristics, this is why I'm going to innovate products and innovate services. The advantage of doing exactly what Andrew just mentioned about is that very often you start with the product innovation, which is putting the cart in front of the horse instead of understanding your client, and then you innovate based on data. And that's exactly what Andrew is referring to. So beautiful, on point there again. Again, the last point that you would have, which I took away, and me and Peter, we talk about this a lot too. We talk about the push and pull factors of sale, right? And the one that most people use is the push factors of sale. And in most cases, when you're pushing sales, you don't have data. But when you're pulling, you're using the pull factors of sale. If you're not good at data collection and data application, you're not going to be as successful as you want to be in the sales process. And that's part of that ties in also to personality branding. So you have said a whole lot there. So I just wanted to, mention this to say I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you, and I think you got some good stuff there with you. Keep up the good work. I'm going to open up now to Paul and Peter to give your views, and I want us to come back uh, to Andrew shortly. But let me hear from some of these other guys. Paul is the kind of guy that's going to give you the money to go do your advertising campaign, to grow and scale your business. And listening to what you're saying, I know Paul is saying to himself, okay, the next time I'm going to be allocating monies to any company, to go spend in advertising, we have to talk some of these strategies. Paul, on to you.
Yeah, I love. Thank you. I love interviewing people like we do because what I just got from you is you're in it at 11,000 RPMs, 250 miles an hour, not playing around,
Yeah.
not taking a
He
drive
ain't
around.
playing at all. No, he ain't playing. Go
And
ahead, Paul.
all the small important details. Educational marketing is brilliant. I mean, educate them. Here's what you're going to get from working with us. Here is your victory, and all you got to do is work with us. It's that simple. Love that. Um, Another way to put what you said, they want it now without the work. Yeah, they want the baby without the birth. Just give me the baby. Don't tell me about the birth. Well, you got to go through the whole birth and the whole pregnancy to get the baby.
That's right.
So, got to go through it. And yeah, make an avatar for your client. Can you go into a little more detail about making an avatar about your perfect client?
Sure. So there's a couple of components within this, and when you break this down, you're gonna start to realize that some of these questions you can't really answer because some of them are quite hard. You really have to think about it. But some of the general questions you can ask yourself again starts with like a typical age point of your ideal client, right? Like, and this is not saying something like your ideal client is between like 20 and 60. Like you got to go much more specific about that, much more dive down into like who could be like a better age, or maybe like 20 to 35 or 30 to 50 or 30 to 40, right? A little bit more specific there is what we want to collect first. Then we want to have an idea of like what is the typical gender of them, like what is it, primary male, primary female, primary of any other category. Then we want to understand what are some of their typical occupation, what do they usually do for a living, what does the majority of your previous clients do for a living, and how much income are they making, where are they typically coming from, are they married, are they single, do they have a family, what's their education background, do they have children. This is like you're literally diving into them as if you're their family members. Okay, then we're going to go over something called like it's like psychological profiling, and in that concept we start understanding what your audience like personality is, like what are their hobbies, interests, values that they might be having, what do they like in terms of entertainment. Then you'll have an idea of like, is this person like more of an introvert or an extrovert. And then we're going to start doing something called content buckets, which are content buckets is a hack to get unlimited content, basically, right? You can consider the following questions if you're going to do this, which is like, would your target customers want to learn about your product or service before making a purchase? Do they know what this is, right? Or what are some of the most commonly asked questions you might have received currently or in the past when people are buying from you, right? Whether that's a B2B or B2C service. And usually, also, if you look at the majority, you could think, and you can find this online as well, maybe what are the top 5 topics that are usually related to your industry, right? In a case, and this varies a little bit more extensively because, for example, in a case like real estate, right? Because I use that a lot. Real estate is very location oriented, right? And agents sometimes speak as if they serve the United States, which they don't. I mean, we're in New York. You guys all know Long Island, right? Like sometimes there's realtors in Long Island or New York City that act like they're realtors of like California because their content is just so bland. Like, I mean, it's like, I think you'll work anywhere, but you don't, right? So I think also specifically talking about what are the top 5 topics related to where you are and to what industry or domain you're part of is important. And then you can also identify, because like I'm sure we're going to be talking about like ranking on Google, SEO. What are some of the keywords and phrases that people are always typing or asking when it comes to these kind of things, right? This could be like in a case of any industry, the best fashion brands out there, right? You want to incorporate some of this kind of verbiage whenever you put your content. You want to like kind of blend in with what everyone is looking for is what we should be doing, because that's going to give you better Google results. That's going to give you better ranking. And as I tell people, like, as we get later into this, I tell people that marketing is a very big circle. And inside that circle, you have smaller circles, and smaller circles could be podcasts, it could be social media, it could be home seminars, like in-person seminars, it could be print marketing. And when you start connecting all of these circles together, you'll start to realize and you start to feel confident with yourself that any lead that comes into my funnel will see me everywhere, and it's almost as if they for sure will do business with me, right? But for that lead to come, you first have to speak to that specific lead, right? So I think these kind of categories of top 5 topics they might be asking: age, gender, marital status, personality, hobbies, interests, pain points, problems, obstacles that they might be having when it comes to this industry. And especially for a newer individual that's like a new business owner, or for like a new person that's working in a specific industry, if they have a hard time figuring this out, there has to be some testing that needs to be done. Because I tell people, I mean, there was a good talk on data analytics and data collection. That's everything. If you're not looking at your data, you don't know if you're doing well. I mean, you're blindly doing it. And another thing that was mentioned well was the personal brand. There was a new app that came out about 6 months ago. It was called Threads. It's trying to take out Twitter out of the marketplace. I'm sure you guys know it. That's created by Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook. And if you look at Zuckerberg, 5 years ago, the man was in court after all these privacy issues, and 100 million people signed up for the app, even though after he was on court. Why? Because it's him, right? He's got such a massive internet influence. And if you can build that influence way before you even start a brand, like a business, the pull strategy is already started. It's just a matter of actually marketing the business at that point, right? So if we can identify that, it all starts in the ideal client, though. So those would be my recommendations, really hitting like their psychological part, their marital part, their family aspect, and then their also personality. And then we'll talk about more into pain points and stuff like that. And you can Google some of these if you're more of a newer person. What are some typical pain points for someone in this industry? And it gives you ideas, because as a new business owner or as a new person starting in an industry, you don't know what your ideal client is. You don't know. You have to work with everyone first, right? So that's like the opposite. You got to work with everyone to see which type of category of person you would like to work with. So I know I said a lot there. So I just speak a lot, but I hope that clarified the question.
Yeah, very good answer. I understand deeper now. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that is deep. I mean, Andrew just went very, very deep there. But what he's talking about there is so, so important. I mean, could you imagine that you're starting a business and you're going to innovate a product or a service, but all the things that he's talked about, you have overlooked all of that. And you're supposed to know all of that throughout the product innovation process, throughout the content production process, in relation to content placement throughout, media. And all of these things are things that needs to be looked at. One thing I didn't hear here is location, because you can have all the data on the ideal client. But what you also need to take into consideration also is the access point, the accessibility of those clients. In some platforms, they can meet you. Perhaps if it's virtual, they can find you. But in terms where you have a physical location where you're offering services at the physical location, you also need to take this into the equation as you look at your ideal avatar, your ideal client. But that was beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. Paul, Peter.
Yeah. Even as I was listening, well, I'm listening to you three gentlemen. Andrew, you're a welcome, a breath of fresh air as you speak about the mastery of your craft, what you do, and it's very refreshing. Gary and I, we have these conversations so many times, and then hear you, as Gary said, it sounds as if you are right up there in the conversations that we have been having.
Yeah.
But even as we look at it now, marketing, understanding the face of marketing, from my perspective, and you mentioned it so many times, and you and Gary, I mean, you guys are gonna be best buddies now.
Yeah.
Because
You know the funny thing
data.
about it. No. What I like about a young man is that you can have a conversation with him on marketing, and it's not common to really
Right.
have this kind of. Go on, go on, Peter.
So the concept of data, I love that. And you mentioned something. Let me just look at my notes again because it was so right on point. You mentioned educational marketing, understanding. Let me see if I can get the exact thing that you said. The long-term thinking, yes, having a long-term thinking, um, and a winning mentality, having a long-term thinking. All right, and because most persons coming into marketing and trying to understand what marketing is, they want to put up a social media post, like you said, tonight, and then tomorrow, their lives, their business, whatever it is that they're doing, they're getting all these sales on this. But the long-term thinking, and this is where I encourage individuals to have a master plan. We can't get away from it. This is where we encourage individuals that they have to have a master plan. And I hope they're beginning. I hope our audience is beginning to understand the concept now of the importance of master planning. Because if you're just starting now, if an individual is just getting the concept of the importance of master planning, sometimes an individual feels as if, I mean, their backs are against the wall, and the thought of master planning, it doesn't sound sexy, because no, they're in a crisis and they need to get out of it right now. Then I'm telling them that they need to have a master plan. So what I would encourage the individuals that I speak to or hear, and I speak a lot to pastors and ministry leaders, and I speak to career professionals, and someone who wants to become an entrepreneur. And what I will say to these individuals is that if you should deflect just for a minute, deflect from the pain that you're in now, because the pain that they're in now did not start last night. Whatever condition that they find themselves in right now, it did not start last night, and it's not going to take tomorrow to get them out of it. So now they have to project their vision into the future to have this concept of, okay, this is where I am now. Where would I be, as you were saying, Andrew, that long-term kind of view? Where would I want to be 5 years from now? Where would I want to be 10, 20, 40 years from now? And when they begin to, I would say to our audience, when you begin to shift your attention to have that kind of a view, what is going to happen? You are going to now be able to assess even short-term programs that you can get into to alleviate the pain. But if they are just thinking that tomorrow they want to just wave a magic wand and they're out of it, more likely they're going to repeat the mistakes, the constant mistakes that keep them in that position where they are. So we like to tell individuals, and as you mentioned, the various elements of personalized understanding who you are designed to work with. Paul mentioned the word avatar. So what we're saying to individuals, even where discovery of what you need to do to get from where you are, we ask individuals now to look back, and the master plan design, we ask individuals to look back at where they're coming from in the first place, because those data of their lives, all the strengths, all their weaknesses, everything that they can, that get them to where they are, those information is very important. And in designing a solution, And we're talking to, again, pastors. If you know a pastor, we're asking those individuals to call them. They need to be here every day, Monday to Friday. A career professional, and I love to speak to career professionals because they are the engine that is really driving our community in what they do. And those individuals, they are in the place. And as you mentioned, Andrew, you said a lot about personal branding, about how do we represent yourselves. And a lot of individuals in the personal or in the career professional space, there are so many of them. Now pick the profession. There are so many individuals already doing what they do. So what I try to get individuals to understand, look at yourself. Who's your best client? And it more likely be that you are the best client that somebody would want, and you will best serve somebody as yourself. So that individual carries a lot of data. If you just examine yourself, and this is why we ask individuals to ask the big question, the who am I, who are you question, because more likely you are, when you examine yourself, you will find that you are your ideal client. You have information that you, when you serve yourself to some respect, you're going to find that there is a lot of individuals out there just like you. And when you examine yourself, because one of the questions that you mentioned, you mentioned, is that, serving, we begin to serve a great deal of people, and then you begin to narrow down. If they are just starting, they serve a great deal of people, and then they get to find out who they like best, who they work with best. But even in the midst of that, when the individual examine themselves to discover their likes and their dislikes, and who they are, what they will also develop is a pattern to understand that there is another 1,000 other individuals out there in the marketplace just like themselves. So
Yeah.
when they begin to design their personal branding, they begin to understand there are a lot of avatars. Those avatars, they are out there that they can now map. So as they now look at even what I like, as a realtor, what am I looking for? As a dentist, what am I looking for? When somebody goes into my mouth, what am I looking for? If I'm looking for a house, what am I looking for? And when we begin to analyze those things, so coming back to the point I'm trying to make is this: the importance of master planning at every level. And it comes down when we begin to ask ourselves those questions. It doesn't have to take a very long time. We're also encouraging individuals. This is the end of the year when everyone is, looking about New Year's resolution, and they want to make 2024 the best year, the best year yet. What I'm asking them to do, even as they're listening to this program, to take the time out. Do take the time out. It's very important. Take that hour. Go into that place where you can look yourself in the mirror. Go back into a quiet place where you can ask yourself those questions. And a lot that Andrew is talking about, it will rise to the surface to set the stage, not just for tomorrow. The answer will come tomorrow. I tell individuals
Yeah,
this. Let's say this: the
yeah.
answer will come tomorrow when
Um,
they have a long-term vision to what they're looking for.
Yeah, I have 2 points
very-
to add to that. Just 2 points.
but Andrew, I want to see if you could wrap up this with what the question that Peter
Sure.
first attempted to ask, and you could tie everything into that. Earlier, you explained many persons in business, they want instant gratification. I want you to share what that experience is like with us. And along with that, I also want you to explain, in your professional view, what timeline should a client be prepared to expect the turnaround. So instant gratification is not instant, perhaps 6 months to a year. Help us to understand it from your standpoint, based
Well,
on what Peter was saying or what you want to say.
Yeah, so I mean, typically this again it goes by industry as well, but we typically found that a lot of brand results can happen within around a 6 to 12 month period. But the problem is if you stop, because then if you stop after a 6 to 12 month period, brand results they're not coming anymore. It's again that's 6 to 12 months is still short term. I heavily believe that your long term, we're talking at least 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's what long term is, right? And if you stop at 6 to 12 months, yeah, probably good things have happened, but if you don't want to continue, it's like, do you even want your business to thrive anymore? That's the question you should ask yourself, right? Because there could be obstacles within that. Because you also have to understand, people ask this question. I'm sure you guys get asked it all the time. What makes you different? Now, I'll be honest, when I get asked that question, and this is just a personal opinion, I personally find that question not valuable anymore because every industry is very saturated. I mean, we can all sit here for like 30 minutes and maybe think about the differences we have and then realize that there's probably more similarity than difference. So, what actually even matters? Well, how do you even stand out? I think there's three qualities about a person. If you can have these three, you will stand out. And number one is your experience. Are you actually good at what you do? That's number one. Number two is your personality. Like if I go to a potential client, right, in a meeting and I show great energy and I'm like, man, we can do this. I'm confident, I'm vibrant. They might just say yes. I've gotten a yes just because of that only. Like, I mean, like he didn't even want to see my portfolio. He was like, yeah, I mean, you're a good guy. Like, let's do it. Right. I think that's critical. And then number three, who you know is important, but I think more importantly, it's who knows you and who knows what you do. It's actually the opposite. That's what I believe. Because if people know you, you're gonna get opportunities. If you just know people, you have to go feed yourself for opportunities. If you can excel at those three qualities better than anyone else in the marketplace, you can say that's what makes you stand out. Because again, I've asked people the same question because I want to hear their response after they ask me, and I'm telling you, I get the same answer. I'm 24/7. I'm hardworking. I'm passionate. Well, guess what? Everyone is. Everyone has to be at this point. So you're not looking any different by telling me that, right? So I think these three qualities, which are like the core functions, is what we can advertise and promote better because it doesn't look something that's like we're not trying to pretend we're different, right? Of course, in a case where sometimes there's cultural differences that could serve as advantages, but again, that's not the biggest difference out there. There are small ones. I mean, if you were to ask me the difference between us, I mean, it could be that we're a young team and we'll provide ebooks, but like that difference won't even matter to a client because they want us help, they want assistance. So I think the other thing around that question is when you mean difference, like does that mean it's going to help you or does that mean it's just a difference in the brand? So I think people use that question, they twist it a little bit differently and they think a difference equals a benefit to them, which sometimes it does, other times it doesn't. It's just a difference that we have, right? But going back to your question, that when this is very variant on industries, like we work with a lot of realtors, and what we find is there's 55,000 agents in New York alone. And if every agent expects to stand out on their own community, they're forgetting the thousands that are right next to them. So in a case like real estate, brand building might take more than 12 months. It might take 18, 24, 30 months to really build an effective brand. But then the legacy to keep after that is what's even a little bit more challenging. You know why? Because there's two factors we can never control in an industry like that. Number one, more agents are joining every single month. Number two, the idea that it's real estate and buying a house is not like a walk in the park. There's a much bigger process to that, right? But typically, the mean average, I mean, we worked with over 100 brands, and we found that the typical mean turnaround point is usually on average of that 6 to like 13, 14 month basis. And in some cases, like for specific product based brands, it could even be a month to 3 months, like, because it's like a quick choice. It's like a brand, like a t-shirt brand or jewelry, right? But then again, that's very short term. Like you can't, like, we're not looking to give you results for 3 months. We're looking to give you results for like 5 years, right? And we've been doing that for a lot of our clients, which we're very proud of. I mean, people always come back to us and be like, we want to do it again, right? So I think that's important. That's like the mean average, but that's a starting point because once we get a result, I'm sure you want more of that to happen, right? So usually that 6 to 14 month time frame is a pretty
All right.
good foundation.
Great answer. I'm going to come to Paul and then I'm going to come back to you, Andrew, and
Sure.
we're going to talk about some hacks because
Sure.
is there such a thing as instant gratification? And we'll look at some hacks that perhaps may get you there. Paul, I know you may have some questions that you may want to chime in. The floor is all yours, my friend.
Thank you. Andrew, how do you become that person who the way you said it was, it's not who you know, it's how many people know you?
Yeah.
How do you get there?
Well, again, it goes backwards. It starts with your network, right? You have to first that's where the push strategy is so important. If I go meet people, right? I'm not just meeting them to say hi and bye. I mean, you have to nurture those relationships, right? So in a case that it could be taking them out for dinner sometimes, right? Or maybe tagging them on some of your posts, or maybe just promoting them because for the goodness of your heart, you want to promote them, right? If you do that enough times, you will stay top of mind. I mean, like for example, Peter's very good at follow up, just like me, and he's staying top of mind to me. I mean, like even though I'm pretty busy right now with things that are going on right before the holidays, he's doing a good job of staying on top of me. And then now that's going to make me think whenever I think about books or publishing, like I actually know someone who's actually doing that. So it's repetition based. Build a relationship, keep it, maintain it. But while you maintain it, keep having more conversations with people. It's just a matter of nurturing, right? And thank goodness with the ability of technology, you can automate a lot of these things, right? I find it a blessing to wake up every day knowing that hundreds of my leads are being followed up automatically, and I am able to have I can create more opportunity right now by just having new conversations instead of following up all the time manually, right? So it's just a matter of repetition first, and then it should, just like Newton's, I think, third law of physics, right? Equal reaction is opposite, right? If you can give it enough, you will get the opposite back. So it's a matter of nurturing, keeping them on your social media. Whenever you post, they get to see you. So it's over and over and over again through different angles of like physical networking and digital networking to create that, right? So it starts with you going out there first.
Cool.
Yeah.
One more question. Are you surprised? Because it seems surprising to me that after it just gets going, 8, 10, 13, 14 months, they've been working with you, things are starting to take off, and then they want to dial down instead of dial up.
Yeah.
When you said that earlier, it just struck my mind that Coca-Cola didn't stop advertising. McDonald's didn't stop. General Motors, Ford, they didn't stop. They didn't say, everybody knows us, we're good, let's keep the money. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great point. So just to bring that up, I have people tell me sometimes, like, when we have leads, like, oh, I don't need to do marketing, like I'm good, right? Then I ask them, why is Starbucks still doing it then? I mean, like, they're much better than you. Like, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but they're way better off than you guys. But why are they still doing it, right? And then they're silent out of nowhere because they realize the stupidity in what they just said. In some cases where people have to dial down, that could be a gap in education again. Maybe I'll have to give them a class again. Maybe I have to make them understand or show them from a broader perspective that this is what's going on. We work with a very selective type of person. We want someone that's motivated. We want someone that's hungry, and we want someone that understands this and the ups and downs that will come with this, right? So there could be, usually when people say that, there's just a gap in their knowledge, right? And we'll try, obviously, as a brand to assist them, or not like convince, but like help them understand this. But if they don't understand this after a certain time, we're just going to say we're not a best fit anymore. Like, I mean, thank you for working with us. It was great to know you. And then we just go. Because again, we don't play around when we work with clients. We were very serious with that. So there are positive cases, though, of this where sometimes, we might, for example, like hypothetically speaking, if we were to manage like 3 or 4 different marketing channels, right? And then after a 6-month time frame, we look back, we see our data, and we find that 2 channels work the best because that's where most of your audience is. Then in a case like that, we'll cut out the other 2 because your audience isn't there right now. Your audience is there primarily. That's positive. That's actually dialing down in a positive manner. You're still doing marketing, but you're not spending entire dollars on something that's not getting you better traction compared to 2 other channels, right? So that's positive, but the negative one is more concerning because, you've been in it for 6 months and you thought you understood it, but now maybe, I don't know, are you scared of the money? Are you scared of there's some sort of fear and lack of understanding that will help try to address.
Okay.
All right, great. What I want to do, I'm going to ask the question, but then I'm going to give a hack at the same time. All right. So I've heard the story about instant gratification. And for the majority of business owners, that's a complete misconception, misunderstanding of what business is, really is. But let us suppose I'm the type of businessman that I'm saying to you, I want to break status quo. All right. So when you say instant gratification, that's for them, those who don't have the capital. I got capital, and I want instant gratification. And what I'm going to use my money to achieve my objective. All right. The hack here is that I can go to influencers that has the know, like, and trust.
Right.
Influencers that has the relationships, and they're going to give me instant gratification. So that's a hack that I just give you. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think to a certain point you are correct. I will also say, we all like the people, we all like leads that make fast decisions. We all like that. I mean, that's an immediate client for us, right? Even doing influencer marketing, as long as you can back yourself up with because here's the thing: if someone promotes another person, what I'll do is I'll go check out that person that he's promoting just to see if there's something that I can get to know about him, right? Um, I look for four things when I check an account. Number one, do I get to know who the person is? Do I get to know what they do? And then the third one is, do I get to see expertise that provides value to me? And number four, how often do I get to see all the other three? If I can see that to an extent after an influencer is promoting someone, then yeah, I think that can absolutely create some conversion. And if not conversion right away, create a big audience exponentially. I mean, you can do influencer marketing for a lot of different industries, and you can find that people will get a ton of followers. Might not be sales, but that's still okay because you now created a community that you can build sales on, right? So the answer is yeah, I think that's a great point. As long as you have supporting documents or supporting web resources that people can check out about you, just to make sure you're legit. Because again, nobody trusts each other nowadays, right? Everyone trusts each other if everyone can see it, and if as long as you have
You're right. I mean, celebrity endorsement work with Nike. Nike was able to elevate those brands to generate billions of dollars annually. The recent worst case scenario that we had is the Sam Freeman Bank. I think it was with the Forex kind of stuff, where we had all of these celebrities driving up the visibility of his operation, maximizing cash flow for the operation. So the method worked, but it's the intention behind his intention that caused that entire process to actually collapse. So I just wanted to bring up that point, but I really, really love what you're saying. And yes, there are hacks, but the thing about it is that if you have the money, that brings us to the point here to draw from your experience and your expertise. What is an average annual budgetary allocation of funds in US dollars that someone should consider to build that momentum in terms of advertising? Some people want to have a $500 advertising budget, and that it's wishful thinking. But what are your thoughts on this?
No, typically we found that, like, from a yearly standpoint, there's people
One
that
second, Peter, I'm coming to you shortly, right? So you can go at him after. Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying there's typically what we found that usually the median for a good decent marketing budget over a year, like as a great good starting point, is somewhere between a mark of like $20,000 to $24,000 a year. So basically, you're looking at around roughly $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Now, a better marketing budget, usually that's a great start. I mean, we started with people below that as well, right? Because for me, it's not the project size, it's the expectation that you have aligned with that, right? And when you start building the brand when you have a budget of like roughly $48,000 to $60,000 a year, that's when a lot of things can happen because we're simply getting more channels, right? But even if you have a $24,000, $20,000 starting point for a year, that's still a great start. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's much, much better than your other type of business owners that are just want to be, and I'm not saying this to offend anyone, but that just want to be cheap and expect things, right? That's a very good starting point for a marketing budget. I would say the 20 to 24,000,
Wow.
right? And in some cases, even going lower than that is okay. Like, for example, the 12 to 16,000 sometimes works pretty well. Again, because for certain industries, not everything has to be there. Like for a t-shirt brand, I don't know why you would use LinkedIn, like unless if you're collaborating with other businesses, right? Like these little channels have purposes behind them. So we'll look into the industry first and see where is the most traffic coming from the most channels. Then we'll kind of tailor it just to those channels first, analyze and see if we have to expand greater, right? There's positive dialing down, there's positive expansion. If we can build you more sales, our intention is to have you do more with us because of us, right? So we can dive into like channels like SMS marketing, email marketing, retention marketing, right? That's only going to make your brand better, right? So typically the median is what we found is usually that 20 to 24,000, but in some cases going a little higher, going a little bit lower than that is also okay, as long as it's per industry based.
All right, great. I'm going to ask Paul just to follow up here, and then I'm going to come to Peter. Paul, In terms of, I mean, 25,000 annual budgetary allocation sounds very small, right? But in your context, what financing do we have available to help a young rising star in business to access that type of capital?
Well, that's a hard one to answer, Gary. I don't know if I got the right
I know.
answer for you, but I'm just going
It's
to tell
too
you,
small.
no, it's
Too
not.
small.
No,
Okay.
no, it's the method. Because I think I understand what you're asking. How do they get it? That's the question, right?
No, do you have financing in your financial portfolio? Is there funding available for them in your portfolios for those businesses that may want money to allocate to advertising?
The way that Patriot Business Finance Consultants does it, we literally need an asset to pull money out of. So if they have an asset, the answer is yes. If you're starting a business and you got a rental home and you want to pull cash out of your rental home to fund your business, then yes. But are there specifically any lenders that I represent that have an advertising money program? No, there's not. So to get money to fund a budget for advertising or operating expenses, you can get money to fund real estate. You can get money to fund equipment because those are assets. But when you're starting a business or you have an existing business and you're trying to come up with more money to put it into advertising, here the hard cold truth is no. You just have to either have the money, go get the money, or increase your sales so you have the money.
Yeah, and it's usually a mix of those few concepts. I mean, people say you got to live the frugal life in the beginning. You probably do have to live it for some time, or in another case, like get more sales. You got to do more push. You got to do intense more push. I mean, we do a ton of push even to this day because I'm trying to create a big brand in a couple of years. But you're right. In some cases, you just have to have the money. You just have to get it somehow. And sometimes a job that's why there's a job, right? A job is very important. And if you could
Yeah.
budget smartly with the job, then and if you care about your business, then you'll realize that you will actually have the funds to do marketing while you're still living a decent life, right? So at the end of the day, if you're going to buy nonsense things, I mean, I don't know if you care about your business enough, right? Of course, here and there enjoy, but don't always do that, right? If you want to start a brand.
Right. Well, I said
All right.
that.
And I think here, as we mentioned, how did Apple or Nike come to be the kind of powerhouse that they are today? It was through influences. When we were doing our research at this level, and I didn't even realize that that was what Nike did until I heard Steve Jobs mentioning it. So Steve Jobs spoke about Nike, how they became that by just associating themselves with sport personalities. They came out with the shoe, and so they asked all the stars, all the stars in the sporting world to wear their shoe. And because of that, that is how they get across into the community to become who they are. And so Apple did the same thing. Apple got important persons in the marketplace to use to endorse their brand, and it worked. So for that individual, that pastor, that ministry leader, that career professional that is outside there, wherever you are, that real estate personality, find somebody and associate with somebody who has that face and go into some kind of a in a partnership with them, and you will find that that will now jumpstart them into that process by which they can get the visibility, as Gary said, that hack. You can get that hack that will cause them to generate some sales, and then from that they can now do more, have greater marketing that will eventually lead to greater sale.
Yeah. And Peter, you're making a lot of strong points here. But I want to say this, as we look at rising stars in business, if we want to really help them, we got to develop a program that is going to look a whole lot as ways in which they can, look at hack. Another thing that I want to look at, because if you don't have visibility, and this is everything that Andrew is talking about, you're dead.
Right.
You may have a good product, you may have a good service, but if you are not in the visibility game, you are dead. All right, and there's a cost for visibility, for reach. That's a cost of doing business, and I think that very often it is not looked at adequately. It is underestimated, and that's the biggest, hole that you're digging for yourself if you don't have a massive game plan to elevate
Right.
visibility with your value offer.
I think that's a good.
I'm
Just
hearing
a quick hacks, and then we're going to come back to yourself and Andrew. Um, and a couple of things. There are financial institutions that allocate capital for operational expense, and advertising can come under operational expense. We need to do a program and probably bring some of those folks together if we don't look at it and talk about that so our viewers will understand, hey, you have a business, you need access to capital to do advertising, you can come to us. Other options, and quickly, is that perhaps there's a heavy cost to preparing the ad. Um, and it's not just preparing the ad, it's researching your target market even before you prepare the ad, so as to ensure that when the ad is produced, it is hitting the target market interest based on all the points that Andrew just spoke about. But we can now partner with Andrew, and I can bring Andrew in as a partner into the company, and I give him equity. I can't give him cash, but I can give him equity. And because he knows what he's doing, perhaps he might be willing to listen to me. That's another hack in terms of helping them with the financial issue. But there's so much of things for us to go through. But let me open up now. Peter, go ahead. You were about to say something?
No, I was just what you said a while ago. You hit the nail on the head, because yesterday we were talking about financial instruments and how do we position ourselves for cash flow to come into our lives or coming into our projects. And there are various financial instruments. So the challenge that that young rising star, as you mentioned, is having is that they want visibility, but they don't have the cash flow to purchase it. Then just what you said a while ago, partnerships is a great deal of how can solve that problem. Affiliate programs is another way whereby you are not able to do it, but then if you get some affiliate persons who are going to act as distributors of your product or your services, to generate that cash flow. So it takes in a lot of creative thinking, which I'm going to say that is why you need your master planning, because your master planning at this point is going to spread all your pieces. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. All those pieces are going to be on the table. So if you're having this kind of a challenge, you're trying to find out, okay, it's a financial issue. Every issue can be solved even overnight, because a great hack is that sometimes you don't know what you do not know, just because you have not taken the time enough to look at all the pieces, all the resources that you have available to you. Because one of the things that I've learned, Gary, Paul, Andrew, one of the things that I learned in our research is that we are only 4 persons away from anywhere we want to go. We're only 4 persons, and I've proven that as well. So when you talk about relationships, when we talk about relationships as an instrument for and this is where, and this is the very basis of marketing, to go into a room, and you're into a room, because Andrew and I are here now. And when did we meet, Andrew? At Katia, and I talk about it's just a couple months ago. Only
Before Thanksgiving, like 2 weeks
Huh?
before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Just that, and here you are now.
Yeah.
So when individuals go into a room, you have to have, and this master, but when you know who you are, it is easy to attract, to connect with that person that you need to have that conversation with. And as a matter of fact, I did not speak to Andrew. Andrew is the one who came to me and says, I heard you said this, and I think I need this. So when we know who we are, and this is why the personal life master planning is important. So we're encouraging individuals, again, take the time to look at yourself, because when you identify the solution that you have, it has a massive pull factor to it. When you communicate it right, you're going to find that person, those persons, those resources that you're looking for will just come right into your presence. And guess what? Next thing, you can have that instant gratification that you're looking for as well when it is done effectively.
Yeah. Paul would normally say something, and it's a challenge that they would normally give to a number of persons that they're allocating funds to. If you're in business and when you create 1 year of sales inventory, and this is why I'm thinking that this conversation is so important, because that skill sets, that method that Paul would normally talk about, if you want us to fund you, show us that you can sell your product for 1 year, and then we're going to fund you so that we know that you have cash flow. And here is where understanding both the pull and push factors of sale makes a whole lot of sense. All right. And I really believe that someone who is starting a business, first of all, it's important to understand that it's not play. It's nothing, it's no
Right.
joke, it's serious business. And it's important to really pause and really take the time to understand what is the cost of doing business. And budgetary allocation for research is part of your cost. Budgetary allocation for media placement is part of your cost. Budgetary allocation for commercial production is part of your cost. And budgetary allocation to hire a subject matter expert in social media management is also important. On this point of social media management, Andrew, I want to put to you a question directly relating to social media management. What I have seen is that the landscape in building visibility across social media is not level. All right. I'm seeing persons who are putting educational content out, and you struggle to get the likes and and the thumbs up and the comments. On the flip side, I see that there are persons who are just putting out a dance and a handshake, and they're getting 60,000, 100,000. I have my two kids, and they're social media genius. I mean, one of them has 60,000 followers in about 2 months,
Oh,
and the other got 40 plus thousand persons in about a month. And there are those who are out there for years that just don't have that type of following on their platform. Can you help us to understand that aspect of it?
yeah. See, there's a couple of unique correlations with this. Let's talk about first the idea of personal content and humoristic content. People like that much better than business. Anyone would prefer watching that more than like someone closing a sale or something. That's number one. We've analyzed thousands of accounts, and we found that whenever people talk personal, whenever people post things that are funny or attention grabbing, typically most of the time are when the views come, because the way the algorithm works is, it shows it to like 50 people, right? And if 50 people either like it, or if they react positively by watching the whole video or maybe commenting, it might show it to 200 people, then 1,000, then 5,000, 10,000, million, 2 million. That's how posts go viral. Now, when it comes to the aspect of business and how can you get more likes and engagement on business, it's all about the messaging, because sometimes people like to talk boring, and talking boring is not going to help you. You have to, and then the interesting thing is people attract negativity. As funny as it sounds, people like negativity, they don't like positivity, right? In an industry like fitness, for example, because this is like the easiest example for people to relate to. um you know it-
So, Andrew, just let me be the devil advocate here, right? So, I guess we are being bored. I guess we got to become a little bit more argumentative, just
yeah,
to
yeah,
to
that's
increase
one.
people's interest. Yeah,
That's one, and
you're right. You're right. You're right. Go
and
ahead.
it's all about the creative, right? Not only is
Yeah.
it the messaging, like, if you're doing a video, if you're doing a static post, you have to have a great hook in that. Like, what is something that can drag people in? It doesn't have to be always the most kindest positive thing. I'm not saying don't be so mean and like offend anyone, but I'm also not saying you don't have to be directly positive, because if you can take a pain point, again, this is where you can use AI to help you, right? To give you some ideas on how you can write some of these hooks, right? If you can have that mixed with a great, maybe that's for your brand, big font and big colors, or maybe for your brand, simple font and light colors and warm colors. If you can do that consistently, you will catch eyes. And again, not every single post should be expected to go up like that. Not every single post. You got to experiment with like 20, 30, 40 different sort of content ideas first, pick the ones that do well, and then you build on those kind of ideas by asking yourself again the content marketing question. See what kind of other gaps you can fill. You can use the online resources as a help. Google is there, GBT is there as AI to give you ideas, right? But I would say that people react to that positivity or negativity in a very unique way that a lot of people don't know how to do. That's why a lot of content is not getting a lot of likes. People just like, they like to educate, but then where's the hook? Where's the call to action? How do you pull me in? I just see a post that's just talking about something very randomly general, like, hey, this is what we can do using this. There's no hook there. I'll give you a good example. In a case of like fitness, for example, right? If we were to say, tell people how to lose weight, right? Like weight loss, here are 3 things you can do to lose weight today. Very boring, right? On the other hand, if I were to say something like, hey, you should stop being fat today, here's 3 things you could do right now, that is a little bit of a negative pull there. But people, they're like, it's like so natural that they end up watching maybe 5 more seconds of that, right? And that's a win. So if that happening many, many times is what's going to create those views and those likes, right? If you look at like these meme pages or like these accounts where it's like reposting other people's content, like a lot of it's called like faceless channels, where you take someone's interview, for example, and you post it on your account. Why is that getting so much traction? Well, usually it's a case where you repost someone that everyone else knows, and then you trust that person automatically and you decide to listen to it. Now, my concept on idea of likes on posts is pretty interesting, because I use Instagram a lot, but I don't like anyone's posts. But I do like the posts that I see. So sometimes that like factor, you could technically be having more likes, but people just don't double tap. Okay. And I just don't double tap because I just find it too tedious personally. But we look for better metrics like views and view watch time, because if your watch time isn't high, that's where the real problem is, because anyone can like any post for a second, or nobody has to like any post. But if they're not watching the entire thing, they're not absorbing the material. So our goal is to increase the watch time. The idea that people will like you or follow you, that's a repetitive thing that has to happen. It takes about 12 touch points before a follower happens. So you can just imagine how long it could take before a sale happens, right? So again, it's
So,
about your hook.
so
It's about the
yeah,
messaging and the questions that are asked within a creative, or how attractive that creative is to actually get more, like engagement or traction on there.
yeah. Andrew, what I have been looking at, for many persons, predicting the algorithm could be challenging because the algorithm changes from time to time. But of course, when you want to help a client to achieve visibility via social media and platforms, what we are now looking at, they are organic,
Yes.
and there are ways in which you could literally influence that process. In another broadcast, we're going to go into that. Um, we have actually come to our time, and I feel as though we didn't even start to push Andrew
So
here
much to talk
at
about.
all. So we definitely have to schedule some more time to go with Andrew, because he's he has a fountain of information here on social media management. Uh, understanding the algorithm, understanding, how to navigate the social media world. And I do believe that he has so much of information to share with
Yeah.
the public.
I'm excited. And
Um,
there's a ton of hacks and stuff I want to give you guys. I'll talk a lot about automation as well next time, and how you can leverage
yeah,
automation to make your life a lot more free, and you can keep going.
yeah. I know we scratched the surface, yes, Andrew. I know.
Just getting a little excited, that's all.
I know. All right. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask Peter and Paul to perhaps table your last questions to Andrew and make a comment as we begin to wrap today's program up. And Andrew, don't go anywhere after the program. I'll talk with you briefly.
Sure.
Who going first? Peter, Paul?
Go ahead, Peter. You go first.
You're mute, Peter.
All right,
Okay, yeah.
there you go. Right. So, I want to close off with this, because we're dealing with branding, marketing, and what we do, and all of us. The first place we have to start with our personal brand, whether we know it, like it, whether we're in a business or just the ordinary Joe walking down the road. We all have a personal brand. And whether we're intentional about it is another matter. So we do ask individuals, we do ask pastors, ministry leaders, career professionals, and aspiring entrepreneurs. The first thing you want to start with is to work at your personal branding. How do you represent you in the marketplace, in the community? How well not I'm not even going to go into the marketplace per se, but there are the four dimensions as we mentioned. There's a personal life level, there is the family life level, there's the community level, and the corporate level. But if we can take into keep in perspective the personal life level, the family level will automatically fall in place. The community level and the corporate level, it's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. So your personal branding, how do you stand in your friends, just with your friends, with your colleagues? Do you like yourself? Do you like yourself? Are you your best friend? You know, how do you feel in your own company? This is what it is, because if you are uncomfortable with yourself, then chances are other people are going to be uncomfortable with you too. So we do ask individuals to start with that personal branding, and there's a lot to be said on what personal branding is. But if we should just use the terminology in the cattle business, and this is where the concept of branding comes forward. How did cattle ranchers, how did they know which cow belonged to them? They will put this hot piece of metal in the fire, and then they will take that hot metal and they will brand, actually smear a scar rather, their animal with on the part of the body with that mark, that imprint of that mark on the cattle's body. So no matter where that cattle goes, everybody knows who that belongs to. So that the idea of taking an image of ourselves, taking a personality of ourselves, and really imprint it in somebody's mind in such a way whereby we will always be remembered. And that is what Legacy Chronicles
The
does.
other one.
Legacy Chronicles actually take an individual through a series of questions for them to identify their unique factor, that personality trait that they themselves will appreciate, that actually offers a solution in the marketplace. And once you have that solution that you represent wherever you go, you just communicate that value to your area, to your people, to your market, to your family, to your community, and build a corporate structure around that. So start with your personal life master planning to develop your personal branding, and it will go up into your family, into your community, and into the corporate society. Thank you so much for viewing us, and we're looking forward to working with you at deeper levels.
Oh, Andrew. So my question is very simple. How do you do it, man? You're moving at 250 miles an hour, 12,000 RPMs. You're going to college. I asked that question because my daughter she works her part-time job. She just graduated her last semester, I think 17 hours of very difficult classes. She was
Wow.
cramped in there. Now you're running two businesses and going to college and living your life. How do you do it all?
I mean, I feel like you get to a point where just like when you run a lot, you get stamina.
Mhm.
And the same thing with your mind. If you can do a lot progressive overloaded over time, you'll start to realize that you can take in a lot more than you think you could. Because for me, I've gotten to the point where I can work 14-hour days and it's light. Like it's all good for me. Like it's just like a normal day. Like, like I'm not stressed. I think also my lifestyle is very important. I'm only a cold shower person. I don't eat bad. I eat, like good food. I mean, once a week I'll have like a cheat day, but then I'll have source good meats. I'll have, a good amount of vegetables, fruits. I think those are big. So I think my lifestyle is also a big part of it. But I think at the end of the day, the other thing that I tell myself is like, you know what? I'm 20, I'm 21. I can push it now. Like now is the time to push it. If I get a little less sleep for a few days, that's fine. that's more of a concern if I'm 50 or 60. That's when I should be actually resting up. So I tell myself this is the time. I told my dad, and I said it in a good way, obviously, but I told him, listen, for the next 10 years, I'm being selfish to myself. I gotta get out of everything now for the next 10 years. So after I'm 30, I can do whatever the hell I want. So I think that intention in the back of my head is just imprinted now that I can just push myself and I just don't feel tired. I'm so glad and grateful for that being the case. But I think the progressive overload over time just naturally increases your stamina and you'll just be able to take more. And just like running more as you practice running and running and running, you start to not get tired after a while. That same concept, I think, is what works for me over time. Now that we're heading into Christmas break, I'm very, I'm not nervous or anything that things will go backwards. I'm still very confident because, again, the discipline is there. Like, I don't even have to feel like I don't have to do it. I'm just going to do it anyways. It's just so natural at this point. So I think when people build that discipline, it's literally unstoppable at that time. And I'm an advocate of that. I mean, I only got into the business like 3 years ago, but before that, I was always very disciplined and actually playing sports, training, and working out all the time. And that long-term mindset started in like 8th grade for me, right? So for me, it's like this is year number 6 we're coming into for this. So I think that repetition of it just made me like realize like, man, like this is like I'm 21, I'm young, I'm healthy, I can push it, I will have no problem. And again, listen, Saturday, Sunday is always coming every week. I get to sleep in a little bit more at that time, is what I remind myself. So I think that's how I just do it.
Congratulations, dude. Well, I tell you what, I talk off the top of my head. So here's what I'm thinking right now. They need to make a copy of you somehow, plop you into every entrepreneurial class across the country in colleges and say, study this guy, study his mindset, look at the way he thinks, look what he did. Congratulations. I'm sincerely impressed. And I love hearing success stories. And I'll quit. You get where I'm coming from. I'm very impressed with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I
The
appreciate
thing,
it.
Andrew has a lot of energy, and he's young. You have to expect that. But of course, Paul, we also have to work with Andrew so he learn and apply and master the 28 rule, so he can do exactly what you're talking about in the literal sense. I mean, he delegate 80% and he focus on the 20% of his mastery. I'll definitely talk to him about that so he can keep that high energy, for a long, long, long time to come. We don't want him to get burned out. But Paul, also, since your question was short, can you talk to us a little bit about the financial instruments that you offer before you conclude your part?
Yes, definitely. Equipment financing. The best of credit gets the best deal structure, best term, lowest cost of money. Difficult credit with equipment financing, you get approved, and we can make that happen. I don't mean to sound so harsh, but we get you approved. Is the money going to be expensive? Of course it is, but you know that you should expect that. But let's look at the reverse. Let's get better now. Make the payments on time. 3 years down the road, Paydex score goes up, credit score, personal and business goes up. You're gold. Make a comeback. America is full of comebacks. So we do equipment financing. We do real estate financing. Same scenario, although there will always be money down with real estate financing. Excellent credit or difficult credit. It just depends on how much. 20% down on an investment property is pretty good. 35% is typically the max. So factoring, purchase order financing, those are for cash flow issues with your business. Cash out your invoices, get paid today. Don't wait for your money. And anything industrial hemp fiber. We can raise capital for projects with industrial hemp fiber. We love the industry. It's a growing industry. So there's more to it, but that's enough for now, right, Gary?
Yes, my friend, definitely so. And I want to come back to Andrew. Andrew, there's a lot of questions that we didn't ask you today, and we have so much more work still to do. We didn't talk about SEO and so much more. But is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation that we might not have asked you today?
I think the one thing that I want to add, which I usually end off with most of my trainings, is the idea that sales and marketing are two different things and that they're connected to each other. And, marketing's only job is to give you an opportunity. whatever you do with your opportunity, that's a sales thing. And you have to have a defined follow-up process. You have to have some sort of sales skills to be able to close that opportunity. The marketing gives you the spark, but the flames only happen when you actually close the deal. And that deal is being closed through your sales skills. Are you asking your prospect the right questions? Are you following up with them like 30, 40 times? I mean, I've been following up with select individuals for 3 years now. Still haven't done a deal yet, but I'm on top of them. I know I can make a difference. And I know my industry is very saturated. So any opportunity that I get, I will capitalize, right? So again, I guess next time we speak, we'll talk a little bit about automation and using CRMs and how you can take advantage of such a low-cost technology like that to automate a lot of these follow-ups, so you could wake up every day and have more conversations. You mentioned earlier the most difficult part is visibility. It's visibility and it's leads. If you have those two, you'll be just fine. You'll make more money for sure, right? But those two are the hardest to get. And when you have so many leads taking a lot of your time because you're manually following up with them, maybe it's time to consider looking into technology that automates a lot of these processes for you. So you can go all in your marketing, but make sure you have a good sales process. And you can go all in your sales, but you got to have leads for you to go all in your sales, right? So you got to have both. Is what I'm saying. Is what I'm saying, and they're both not the same thing either. They're both connected to each other.
Yeah, and great points, Andrew. Over the next few weeks, I'll talk with you, and perhaps we can do some nuggets and hacks, bite size. We just dropped in some of those nuggets in terms of, that can help people in those fields. And they need more, they're going to come directly to the community.
No problem.
So with that being said, I mean, thanks. Great to have, as usual, Peter and Paul, and definitely, Andrew, you have certainly been a breath of fresh air here. The way you articulate yourself around, marketing and branding and social media management. And guess what? We ain't scratched the surface yet. All right. So there's so much more. There is so much more to come. And I really trust that the audience would have enjoyed your presentation, some of the hacks that we looked at. And definitely, I do believe that if they're listening very keenly, they can take away so much to help them attain their competitive edge. So with that being said, I just want to say thanks again for the public, for those who are viewing us from across the world. And thanks again for taking the time out to be part of this community. And remember, continue to like and subscribe and share these podcasts. And again, so when you subscribe, you will be the first to know when we are on air. So with that being said, do enjoy the rest of the week. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday. Where we say thank God it's Friday. And Christmas is just around the corner, right? So don't be surprised if you see us coming with our Christmas hats soon, right? Because Christmas is in the air. All right, viewers, you can go ahead, Paul.
No, thank you. It was just a pleasure to be on here and meet. I mean, I was glad I was able to meet Peter, and I was just very thankful for you guys to give me an opportunity to speak. I mean, I love speaking, so I think
man,
you letting me be here today.
It's our pleasure to have you here, my brother.